The lock wasn't fancy. It wasn't expensive, but it was mine. A simple steel padlock I had installed on my own lakefront gay knot to keep out the world, just to protect my property. I had no idea that tiny hunk of metal would spark a chain reaction that would unravel a web of corruption years in the making. No clue that it would pull back the curtain on deceit, manipulation, and criminal behavior deeply embedded in our community's foundation. And it all began on a Tuesday afternoon. The sun was pouring gold over the rooftops of Cedar Haven, the upscale neighborhood I had moved to a year ago for peace, quiet, and access to the lake. I was in my home office finishing a work report when the doorbell rang sharply, slicing through my concentration. When I peeked through the peephole, I saw her, Vivian Daltrey, president of the Cedar Haven Homeowners Association. Stiff arms folded across her designer blazer, lips pressed into a thin, battle-ready line. Her pearl necklace glinted ominously in the sunlight like a general's rank. I opened the door with as much composure as I could muster. "Good afternoon, Vivian," I greeted, trying not to sound wary. "What brings you by?" She skipped the niceties entirely. "The board held an emergency meeting last night," she said. "About your new gate." I blinked. "My gate? You've effectively blocked the lake access path that residents have been using for decades." I tried to keep my voice calm. "That path is entirely on my property. I double-checked the deed when I bought this place." "Well, that's exactly why I'm here." Her smile curled upward, predatory and cold. "The board voted unanimously. You're required to provide us with a key to that gate immediately." I stared at her, heart rate rising. With all due respect, I had the gate installed after finding beer cans, cigarette butts, and trash scattered across my yard for weeks. People were treating my home like a public park. Vivian didn't flinch. "The path has been used by residents since before you were born," she snapped. "That makes it a community easement by established use." "No," I replied evenly, grateful I'd done my homework. "I've spoken to a property attorney. There's no recorded easement on my deed, and I've been posting clear no trespassing signs for over 6 months. Legally, any claim of established use is null." Her expression darkened like a brewing storm. "The HOA bylaws state all homeowners must maintain community aesthetics and access," she said icily. "Section 7 of those bylaws," I countered, "only applies to community property. My land isn't community property." Vivian leaned in, lowering her voice. "Listen closely. The board has ways of making life very uncomfortable for difficult homeowners. Last year, we fined a man over $100,000 for a fence dispute. His home's under lien now." A chill crawled down my spine. I closed the door on her mid-threat and immediately called my lawyer, Jonathan. "Document everything," he said. "This could get messy." Messy was an understatement. That night, a motion-activated alert buzzed on my phone. I opened the security app and saw 3 shadows by my back gate. One of them was unmistakably Vivian, her stiff platinum bob caught in the infrared light. Another was Alan, the HOA treasurer. The third was Tony, the facilities manager. Alan had bolt cutters. I hit record and called 911. By the time Officer Miller arrived, the intruders were gone, but my padlock was gouged with fresh scratches. Officer Miller filed a report and told me to keep the cameras running. The next morning, 5 HOA violation notices hit my inbox: hedge height, mailbox paint, unauthorized garden border, excessive water use, and improper security hardware. Each fine carried a $100 per day penalty. They weren't even subtle about it. Then came the app notification. Vivian had posted a bold announcement on the neighborhood forum. "Urgent. Homeowner blocks historic lake access emergency meeting tonight at Clubhouse. All must attend." My gate was photographed and labeled hostile architecture. Dozens of comments appeared within hours. Neighbors I'd never met accusing me of selfishness and demanding action. I called Jonathan again. "They're turning the neighborhood against me," I said. "Take pictures. Get your property survey from the county. I'm drafting a cease and desist." At the county clerk's office, the woman behind the desk raised an eyebrow when I explained. "Cedar Haven again?" she said, lowering her voice. "You're not the first. They've been trying to rezone the lakefront for years. All denied. Here your records clearly show you own that entire strip. No easement, no right-of-way. Armed with documents, I filmed a video walkthrough of the gate and path, time-stamped and clear. Then I came home to find my gate's lock destroyed. In its place, a shiny new padlock and a note. Community access restored. See HOA office for key. They had broken into my property in broad daylight. Officer Ramirez responded this time, confirmed it as vandalism, and took a formal report. My elderly neighbor, Miss Evelyn, approached nervously with a shaky hand and a determined glint in her eyes. I saw them, she whispered. Vivian and the others. Around noon, I caught the whole thing on my birdwatching camera. I almost hugged her. Later that evening, I received a call from Alan. You've made a big mistake calling the police, he growled. Vivian knows people. Your boss plays golf with her husband. Are you really willing to risk your job over a gate? I hung up and replaced their padlock with a reinforced one. Then I installed new cameras, posted legal warning signs, and printed extra copies of my deed. At the emergency HOA meeting that night, I arrived with Jonathan and Officer Miller standing nearby at our request. Vivian tried to ban us from entering. This is a private homeowners meeting, she said. I'm a homeowner, I replied, and this is my attorney. Jonathan stepped forward. Your bylaws require 2 weeks' notice for any official meeting. Any decisions made tonight are invalid. Then Officer Miller stepped in. We're also investigating criminal vandalism. MS. Daltrey, Mr. Shouldn't, Mr. Greer need to speak with you now. Gasps filled the room as the officers escorted the board members outside. Before Vivian disappeared, she hissed, "This isn't over." She had no idea how right she was. Outside the community center, a small crowd had gathered, murmuring anxiously as Vivian, Alan, and Tony were questioned by Officer Miller and his team. The air felt electric, charged with confusion, suspicion, and something else, hope. For the first time, people were starting to question the narrative that the HOA had carefully crafted over the years. Back inside, neighbors whispered among themselves. A few turned to me, some still wary, others beginning to see the cracks in the story they'd been fed. One woman I recognized from a few houses down leaned in and whispered, "They fined me $300 last year for unregistered solar lights. I thought it was ridiculous, but they said it was standard procedure." Another man, Jason, a veteran with a service dog, added, "They made me take down a ramp I built for my wife. Said it wasn't within code, but never provided the code." Jonathan and I sat near the back, quietly taking notes as people spoke. Word had spread fast. Someone had posted the footage of the bolt cutters and the destroyed lock on the community app. Dozens of comments now sided with me. And then came Evelyn. With surprising poise, she stepped to the front of the room. "I've lived here for 28 years, she said, her voice calm but unwavering. "I've seen HOA presidents come and go. But never have I witnessed the kind of manipulation and intimidation we've been under lately." She held up a printed still from her birdcam video, clearly showing Vivian with the bolt cutters in hand. "This isn't about a gate," she continued. "It's about control." The room fell completely silent. Then someone clapped, and another, and then the entire room burst into applause. Vivian returned a few minutes later, her face pale, lips pressed tight. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The damage had been done. The meeting was dissolved without vote. The crowd dispersed in small groups, many coming over to shake my hand or thank Evelyn. The next day, I filed formal charges through the county court with Jonathan's help vandalism, trespassing, attempted coercion, and harassment. The police report, combined with Evelyn's footage and my own security logs, made the case strong. Within 48 hours, a judge granted a temporary restraining order against Vivian and 2 board members. They were prohibited from stepping onto my property, approaching me, or attempting further contact. But the real bombshell came a week later. Thomas, a quiet accountant who'd recently taken an interest in HOA operations, knocked on my door carrying a manila folder. "I've been reviewing the budget summaries the board publishes every quarter," he said. "There's something off. Very off." Inside the folder were spreadsheets clean, color-coded, and damning. Payments labeled Lake Path Maintenance, community beautification, and legal retainer were inconsistent, vague, and outrageously inflated. There's a $45,000 line item for lake access landscaping, but there's no record of any work done. And the vendor? A company named Greenstone Services, LLC. It's registered to a PO box with no phone number or website. We both looked at each other and said the same thing: shell company. Jonathan initiated a discovery motion in court, requesting full HOA financials for the past 5 years. The board resisted, of course, but with criminal charges already pending and public pressure mounting, the judge compelled them to comply. What we found left us stunned. 6 shell companies, over $400,000 in diverted funds, and most of it funneled into private accounts linked to Vivian, Alan, and Diana, board secretary. They had been billing homeowners for years, charging inflated fines, creating fake maintenance needs, even charging families for lake use permits, and none of it was legal. We handed everything over to the district attorney's office. Within a month, an investigation was launched. The DA coordinated with county fraud units and the local police. Subpoenas were issued. The IRS got involved. The story exploded. Local news picked it up. Then regional. Then national. Lekfa von Hoas, Kangdan, get dit spoed unkova massive embemlen sim. Power-hungry HOA president faces criminal charges in property rights showdown. Vivian was arrested first, taken into custody without fanfare on a quiet Wednesday morning. Alan and Diane followed the next day. Their homes were searched, their electronics seized, their bank accounts frozen. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exhausted, but also relieved. The court appointed an interim HOA administrator who immediately suspended all ongoing fines, canceled outstanding violation notices, and called for a new election. At the community meeting that followed, Thomas stood up and nominated Evelyn for the new board. I seconded, someone shouted. I thirded, another added. I'll do it, Evelyn said, beaming with dignity, if someone helps me with spreadsheets. Thomas grinned. I've got you covered. The whole room laughed, and for the first time in months, the sound felt genuine. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere of Cedar Haven changed. People waved again. Children played by the lake without whispers about rule infractions. Neighbors brought over casseroles and shared stories of their own unjust fines and threats. At the next meeting, I was asked to present the full findings alongside Thomas and Jonathan. The room was packed. People stood in the aisles and listened in silence as we laid out the web of fraud. When we finished, the applause was thunderous. That night, Evelyn stopped by my porch with a bottle of wine and a smile. You did something incredible, she said. We all did, I replied. I looked out toward the gate. For so long, it had felt like a wall dividing me from a community that didn't understand or welcome me. But now it felt like something else. A symbol of standing firm. A reminder that doing what's right, even when it's lonely, matters. The restitution hearing concluded with Vivian and the others accepting plea deals, community service, fines, and an agreement to repay stolen funds. They would never again serve on an HOA board anywhere in the state. The new board launched community-led projects, a public lake access dock on the far side of the neighborhood, a community garden, monthly block parties. My own gate, still there, still locked, but respected now. No one asked for a key. Months passed. Life settled. One spring afternoon, I received a hand-delivered letter from the district attorney's office. A formal thank you for aiding and exposing one of the most elaborate HOA embezzlement schemes in the state's history. It would be used as a training case for local governments. Later that evening, I found a card in my mailbox. It was signed by dozens of neighbors. Thank you for standing your ground. You protected more than just your property. You protected all of us. I held the card against my chest and let the weight of it all sink in. The fear, the sleepless nights, the doubt, it had all been worth it. Because sometimes the smallest locks unlock the biggest truths.